Hey babes, it's B. Welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be doing my July 2020 plan with me. For this month's theme, I decided to go with snakes, which is a little weird considering I actually don't like snakes. It's not like I chose this theme because I love snakes so much. Honestly, I don't know why I chose it. I just thought it would turn out looking pretty cool, and I think it did in the end. So, for the cover page, I've drawn a snake that is kind of looping in on itself and just wiggling around on the page. And I'm drawing little tiny scales one by one on the snake. This part definitely took the longest and is what made this video filming process drag out a bit longer than it should have. But I think it really turned out really well in the end, and it was pretty worth it because, as you can see, the snake looks pretty cool, all the scales drawn like that. I'm really glad that I decided to take the time to put in the detail. For the snake's head, I wanted it to stand out a little bit more and kind of separate it from the rest of the body, so I didn't do just the scales. As you can see, I did a kind of zigzag pattern and the scales in between just so that it would be a little bit different. And after I drew all the scales, I added some shadows along the edges of the snake's body and also in the places where it's kind of overlapping. I just wanted it to be a little less two-dimensional and give it a little bit more of a realistic effect. This is definitely different for me because most of my themes involve cartoonish looking drawings or like doodles and things like that. But this is definitely not that. Most of this theme is actually pretty simple spreads that are made to look a lot more complicated and intricate because of the snakes that are involved. And as you can see, I'm using a stencil and I've been using a ruler. So I'm trying to make these spreads as perfect as possible. I think that kind of goes along with the minimalistic vibe that I was going for. For the lettering, I used the circle stencil to make the round parts of the J and the U perfect, and then the actual ruler so that the lines were straight. Moving on to the other side of the page, I'm doing my quote page, which is a lot more simple than my cover page. I'm doing the same gold border that will be showcased in all of my spreads this month, and that's pretty much it for the quote page, besides the quote. For the quote, I wrote it in cursive using my Micron fine liner in the size 05, which is the thickest one that I have personally, though I know that there are thicker ones, but I kind of like the way that this one looked. The quote says, "Snakes don't hiss anymore. They call you babe, bro, or friend." And I thought that quote was kind of funny because it's like a play on words or double meaning or something like that. So just found it funny. Next up on my spreads for this month is my calendar spread. For this spread, I stuck to the layout, which is the big calendar, which I love, and I don't know why I ever left it, except it's a little different from what I usually do because I actually spaced out the boxes instead of just drawing the lines and having them cross to make boxes. And I think this looks really nice, and it's definitely a minimalistic thing, I think. And it also allows for the snake to be shown in the background because, as you can see, I'm drawing the snake as it's like kind of going behind the calendar, and with the space in between you can actually see it, so that's nice. For the boxes, I used a ruler, of course, because I'm still striving for perfection here, and I also drew the small little rectangles at the top, so that's where the days of the week are gonna go, and I'm gonna write them in with my white gel pen later on in the video. Right now, I'm finishing the outline of the snake before I go in and actually add the scales and the shadows and all of the details that take forever, but also make it look nice. For the outline of the snake, I'm using my Pigma Micron fine liner in the size 03. So throughout this video, I use 3 different sizes of the fine liners. I think it makes the spreads look a little bit more interesting with all the different sizes of pen instead of having it all look the same. Now I'm finishing up the scales and then doing the different design on the head like I did on the front cover page, and then moving on to adding shadows and making this snake look a little less two-dimensional. In all of these spreads, I try to go from foreground to background By that I mean that I outline and draw all of the things in order of the way that they're supposed to be seen. So in this case, the boxes are supposed to be on top of everything, and then it's the snake that is behind the boxes but in front of the gold border. So in all of the spreads, the gold border is last, but to make things a little less confusing, that's how I try to think of it, and that's how I draw all of these different components. Now I'm doing the same font for the word July that I did on the cover page, and I'm using the ruler and the same stencil I was using before. And for the days of the week, I'm writing them in using my Sakura Jelly Roll pen in the color white, obviously. And for the numbers inside the boxes for each day of the month, I'm writing them with my gold gel pen. This is to add a little bit more of that gold in these spreads. Even though this theme is mainly black and white, I like to add the little pop of gold every now and then, but not too much of it, of course, just a teensy hint of it. The next spread that I'm going to be doing is my social media planning spread. This spread is a bit new to me. I started using it in May when I first got the idea for it. This is mainly for my Instagram account, which I want to keep track of and I want to post on regularly, so I'm trying to schedule my posts. And since I started my Instagram by the end of April, that's why I actually had this spread in May. And since then, it's evolved slightly. For this month, I'm using the same layout that I used in my June spreads. So I'm just having 2 columns for my Instagram and my YouTube. And as you can see, I'm only putting the days Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And that's because I only post on those days on either YouTube or Instagram. So that's really all the space that I need to plan out the things that I'm going to be posting. For the actual letters, I wrote them in black, and the numbers, I wrote them in gold, again for a little hint of gold, but it also is going to serve as a barrier between the letters of the days and the actual post names or whatever it is that I'm going to try and schedule for whatever day it is, because I usually do plan that out in black and I didn't want it to all mush together and look all the same. The font is the same that I've been doing throughout, the same perfect font that I've been trying to keep up with the stencil and the ruler, and I also drew a snake in the background, but since this snake goes across both pages, I haven't done the scales yet because I wanted to zoom out a bit so that you could actually see me drawing the scales and not having my hand going off screen. So I'm going to do that after I do my brain dump page, which is just as simple as my quote page really. I only have the gold border plus the snake's head and the words brain dump. The words brain dump are of course in the same font that I've been using throughout. And I made a mistake on the brain dump page twice, though the first time I didn't show it. I actually wrote bran dump instead of brain, so I covered that up with a piece of paper and wrote brain, though I didn't show it because that one took a little bit longer to fix. But for the P, I actually drew the line 1 square too low, so I just cut a small piece of paper and stuck it right under there. I covered up a little bit of the line, so I just took my fine liner and drew on the extra bit and it was fixed. The next spread that I'm doing is actually my favorite from this month's setup, which is interesting. I don't know why, but it's so pleasing to my eyes. I'm working on my mood tracker right now. It's just a circle with a snake in the middle of it. It's not a big snake like I've been doing throughout, so maybe I like it because it's different. And for this mood tracker, I'm going to be doing line lengths to represent my mood. So if it's a longer line, I'm going to be happier versus a short line where I'm going to be more upset or have a down day. I haven't done one of these mood trackers before, but because this theme is black and white, I couldn't really color things in. So I had to improvise, and I'm going to try out this tracker. And I really like the way that it looks, so we'll see how it works. I did the same perfect font that I've been doing, and I also added the gold border around and then thickened the lines a little bit. So I haven't actually explained the border before. So I'm drawing the base, which is the first line with my ruler, and then I'm drawing a second line with my ruler and filling in the gaps in between those 2 lines to make the lines look a little bit thicker, because with just the one line with that gel pen, I thought it looked a bit thin and it didn't pop out as much as I wanted it to, so I made it a little bit thicker. And that's just what I've been doing throughout, though I just realized I didn't actually explain what I was doing that well. For the habit tracker, I'm only tracking 5 habits, which hopefully I can still keep track with, because in June I literally gave up probably in the first like 2 weeks. I had so many habits to track, and honestly, some of them I didn't even start trying to do. So hopefully 5 habits is a lot more manageable. For the actual spread itself, I drew the little calendars kind of staggering with a snake in the background, and this is another one of my favorite spreads. I think these 2 pages together honestly look very nice. I really like the snake in the background in this one. I think it turned out very good. So right now I'm doing the most complicated part. I'm adding in all of the scales and then adding the shadows and the scales to the head, which is like a different pattern. So this spread is almost done. It's just the snake that takes up the most time. At the top, I'm writing habit, and at the bottom, tracker. I did the same thing with the mood tracker, so I kind of wanted them to be similar in that way. And again, same font. And I also messed up this spread. I drew the border out 1 line too far, so I had to cover that up with a piece of paper as well. I think it shows that everybody messes up, even if you can't erase them. So just cover it up, improvise, turn it into something new, and don't worry about it too much. Now I'm writing in the habits that I'm going to track this month using my Sakura white Jelly Roll pen. My habits are reading, putting in my retainer, waking up at 8 a.m., making my bed, and drinking water. These are all things that I've been trying to do, hence why I'm tracking them. Moving on, now I'm doing my gratitude log. For this spread, I drew a snake and just divided it into 31 parts. Yes, some parts are going to be very thin and some a little wide, but I'll make do and write down what I need to, even if I have to adjust my handwriting a bit. So for the gratitude log, every day I'll write down something that I'm grateful for, and I try to keep it so that every day I write down something different, but sometimes I'll just be super grateful for this one thing. But I just wanted to provide an explanation in case any of you guys were confused on how the spread works. Just because this is a pretty new spread to me, I just started doing it last month, but I really enjoyed, which is why I kept it for July. Right now I'm numbering each section so that it lines up with the day of the month using my gold gel pen, and that's it. On the other side of the page, I'm doing my playlist spread. I was originally going to try and do a snake playlist, but I didn't have literally any songs in my Apple Music that had the word snake in the title or in the song, I guess. So I just did a July playlist with some of my favorite songs right now, and at the bottom I actually added a song by DJ Snake. All I had was that artist, so I tried to incorporate it a little bit. I printed out the album covers for each song that I'm using, and yes, they're a little faded because my printer is apparently running out of ink, but I decided to use them anyway, and so I cut them up and taped them into my journal, and then wrote the song names next to them. And for this spread, I added 2 smaller snakes like I did with my mood tracker, but on the sides of the playlist. I also really like the way that this spread turned out. Moving on, now I'm doing my weekly spread for the first week of July. For this, I decided to go with a vertical layout, though I usually don't do these, and that's probably why I wanted to. This whole month setup has been a whole experiment on my style because I'm definitely not a person that uses a ruler, and I don't try to follow a minimalistic style, and I definitely don't ever try to draw realistic looking drawings, so I really changed up a lot of things that I do with this theme, and I actually really like the way that it turned out. Now, after adding the scales, I'm going back and adding the shadows around the snake's edges and adding the gold border around the page, then making the lines a little thicker. I wrote events and tasks using my gold gel pen, but I didn't actually like the way that it looked because I didn't think it showed up well enough with the snake in the background and then on the white. So I just covered it up using a piece of black paper, and I just wrote events and tasks using a white gel pen instead. And because I still wanted to incorporate the gold, I got out my gold paint marker, which is a little thicker, and used that for the numbers. So this is the final flip through of my July 2020 bullet journal setup. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I definitely stepped out of my comfort zone with this theme, and I tried so many new things that I haven't done before or that I haven't done in a while, and I'm really proud of myself, but I also really like the way that it turned out, so maybe I'll be trying different things in the future as well. If you did like this video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up, comment something nice down below, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more videos from me. Turn on the post notifications so you know when I upload my next video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!